recording this, so if anybody wants to watch this later, they will be able to. So today this is week 6. This is our last week. And this week we have 2 chapters on different systems, organ systems in the body. One is the digestive system, and one is related to osmoregulation. Osmoregulation is discussed first in Bio 1, the processes of osmoregulation, osmosis, and the process through which solutes move down the concentration gradient. And here it's discussed in relation to the process of excretion, primarily through the kidneys. So we have that process. And then also for Thursday, our last chapter is chapter 52. It's animal development, but it is pretty much an extension of the topics which were introduced when we talked about at the introduction to animal diversity. So it goes into a little bit more detail in the processes of cleavage and the blastula and the gastrula stage. So for today, I'm just going to go through a little bit of Tuesday's topics. And also to remind you that there is no exam today. The exam will go live on Thursday, and that will be our last exam. And that will cover the information that was released during week 5 and during week 6. But you can expect the exam to be pretty much the same length, so about 65 questions in total. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for today's materials. Google Chrome. All right, so week 6, today is Tuesday. The project, it looks like I have everybody's project. I know some people, I don't know if everybody knows about this, but the tropical storm actually knocked out electricity and Wi-Fi in several areas throughout the Northeast last week. So there were some people that needed extensions, and it's actually helpful that I have relatives and friends in different parts of the country as well, because I actually have my own family was in Long Island. They lost their power twice last week. So I know that it wasn't just people trying to get an extension. There were legitimate reasons for this need. I mean, if you have no Wi-Fi and there is no electricity, it's really difficult to submit assignments. So just keep that in mind that I am trying to be flexible with that. So for today's Tuesday, week 6, chapter 46 and 49 are the chapters for today. And I'm going to go ahead into this section. So the Smart Book assignments have been live for a while, so you could have started them earlier. Those are due on the 14th, so keep that in mind. That is coming up. Hold on, let me double check. I think the 14th is Friday, but I want to make sure that I say that correct. Yes, so it's due on Friday the 14th at midnight. So just I'm looking for everything to be completed by Friday so that I can get your grades processed and posted in a timely manner. The participation assignment for chapter 46 and 49 is due on Wednesday, so tomorrow night at midnight, as it usually is. And then I have your video lectures are all below. For both chapters, there are some processes that kind of are detailed. So the digestive process, I talk about that and what occurs in different locations within the digestive system. And so I have some links to videos which may help to kind of you actually visualize things like the production of HCl that occurs in the stomach, what occurs within the small intestine, and then the different phases of gastric secretion. So it's one thing to talk about it and see the pictures, but the video actually helps to kind of helps you to visualize those processes. So chapter 49 is related to osmotic regulation, and it also goes through the excretory process, primarily the urinary system. So what occurs within the filtration and the excretion process within the kidneys. So we go through the different types of nitrogenous wastes in different animals, but we focus on the mammalian kidney and what occurs within the kidney. And I have a couple of videos for that, in which I go through the lecture. But additionally, I have some videos that that actually show you the cross section of the nephron and the kidney, and how actually what is occurring in different processes, particularly along this loop of Henle, and what ions or what molecules are, where they're moving in and out of the filtration system within the kidney. So you can actually see where those different processes occur and how that actually impacts the osmolarity that occurs within the kidney as well. So those videos should help. So let's see, let me go back just a second. I should have everybody's grades posted. I'm gonna actually, let me stop sharing for now. All right, I should have everybody's grades posted for the brochures tomorrow, and that way you have a good idea of what your grade is looking like for the class. And then the only things that will be missing are exam 5 and the participation in smart book assignments, which are also due on Friday. For maintaining your grade, I've been trying to keep your grades updated on Blackboard so that you know where you stand. When Friday is complete and I have all of the grades, done, over the weekend, what I will do is you have a total grade column in Blackboard, but I will also, in order to clarify for you what grade to expect on your transcript, I will also create a column that will say final grade. And so that will actually correspond to the number that you see. So if there's like, it's like whatever, a 91.3, that's an equivalent to an AB. So I would write AB in that location. And so that way there isn't a confusion, or you're not wondering, oh, am I on the line? Did I pass the line? Am I below the line? You actually have, you actually know what you're gonna see on that transcript. Another thing that I wanted to mention, and I will put this on Blackboard as an announcement as well, you should be getting emails about the course perception surveys that usually go live towards the end of the semester. I do appreciate feedback, and I would very much like to see your feedback on the course, to see how it went. Actually, I'm considering making my own, because there's some questions I have that don't get asked in that survey. But to encourage your participation in the survey, I will be giving, bonus points if you do complete it. The way that I am able to know if you complete it is if you send me an email, you will get, if you complete it, you will get a confirmation email. It will not have any way for me to identify your survey in particular. All of that stays anonymous. But if you forward the email to me that says, thank you for completing the survey, then I know that you completed the survey, and then I'm able to award you the bonus points for completing the survey. And then once that has been documented, I can put that in another column on Blackboard so that you know that I've received that. I typically, when I receive the forwarded email from you, I usually send you an email that says thank you, just so that you know that I received the email, and that's kind of my confirmation that that was received. All right, so I usually have some common misconceptions that we go over for the different chapters. A couple things about the digestive system that I wanted to highlight is it seems really simple. We have been talking about the digestive system. You're probably familiar with the process of the digestive system. You've probably been, you know, learning about it for the past, I don't know, like 15 years. But also, like I have been saying, think of this as layering of information. So take what you already know and then add the additional information onto it. So the information about like the parietal cells and the hydrochloride cells in your stomach. So you have some information, we're just adding more to it. So take the time to think about what is happening in those different locations and add additional information to that. What do I want to say about this? For the digestive system, things that I'd like for you to think about and questions that I might ask, which might be confusing, are to think about what type of macromolecules are being digested in different locations. So where is lipid being digested? Where are carbohydrates digested? So where does it start? Where is it finished? And then also ask simultaneous questions like, what happens in the small intestine? Or what happens in the large intestine? Or what is produced by the liver? So all of those different organs are introduced and discussed, but also think of them separately so that you know what is happening, what is being produced, and the main functions that we're talking about are things like secretion, digestion, absorption, and then elimination. So think about what's happening in each of those locations and be able to map it out. So and clearly we know that, you know, it starts in the mouth and then it's going on to the esophagus, etc. But the processes as you get further down, I don't want those parts to throw you. All right, so the next chapter is chapter 49, and this one is a little bit more, not tricky, but I do know that sometimes students find it challenging to differentiate between the terms that we use when we talk about things like the isotonic, well, excuse me, not isotonic, but the hyperosmotic and hypoosmotic. And I try to emphasize this in the videos as well, but please remember that those terms, they are most useful in that they're really talking about things in relation to something else. So a solution is not necessarily hyperosmotic just by itself, but it's hyperosmotic in relation to a different solution. So it's a reference point, right? So be able to really understand hyperosmotic, isoosmotic, hypoosmotic, and also remember that, you know, you might have a cell or you might have tissue and that might be hyperosmotic or hypoosmotic, but it is specifically in relation to what it's being compared to. The other parts of this system that you may not have learned this process of excretion and filtration in this much detail before. So take it slowly and take the different parts of the nephron, the functional unit of the kidney, and think about what happens in each area. And I try to break those apart. So what happens in the glomerulus? What's happening in the loop of Henle, and what's happening in the descending loop, and what's happening in the ascending loop, what's happening in the collecting duct. Different things are happening. And I would start with it as kind of like on a basic level. So what's happening? Is there filtration? Is there a net outflow of water? And then layer in additional information, the more complex information. So start simple and then add more complex information about that. What else do we want to make sure that we say? The other part of this chapter is that it seems that we're focused on excretion, and we think of this, the process that happens within the kidneys as kind of a mechanism for, you know, we're offloading water, but that's not necessarily the case. There is an enormous amount of reabsorption of water that occurs in this area, and so there is a lot of water reuptake. So the excretion, it's not like we're trying to excrete water. We're trying to excrete the parts, you know, the salts or the waste products that are no longer beneficial and perhaps toxic to us. And there is water loss in that process, but there is an enormous amount of reabsorption that occurs as well. So one of the things that I want to mention, the process that occurs in this loop of Henle that is discussed, it's called the countercurrent multiplier system. It is complex, so do watch the videos and take your time kind of mapping it out, drawing what's happening, so that you do have a good understanding of what is occurring in that process. All right, so I do have a couple of questions that I'm gonna ask. These I really just want to show you. My cat is here next to me. I want to show these to you just so that you have an idea of what types of information I'm trying to highlight. So I'm showing these to you. Take a couple minutes to answer them. Honestly, if you get them wrong, it's totally okay. The point of showing you these is mostly so that I can emphasize specific topics which I think are important for you. All right, I'm gonna give it another 15 seconds and then I'm gonna go ahead and close it. All right, I'm gonna close this and share the results with you. Okay. All right, so you should see this. The first question, great. The active molecules moving into body fluids is absorption. That the majority of you answered that correctly. Part of why I wanted to ask that question is that introduces a series of terms related to the digestive system, which you are going to be able to, that I want you to be able to identify and understand. So absorption occurs in different areas, elimination occurs, digestion occurs, ingestion occurs as well. So being able to identify and to describe those processes is important. The second question is related to the liver and the small intestine. So those two organs work together and they help to with the digestion and uptake of lipids. So the last one, the correct answer was lipids. And I honestly did not expect the majority of you to get this correct. But part of why I'm asking it is because this is the type of thing, this is the kind of higher level. Did you understand what we talked about? And then can you apply it too? So this is the type of question that I might ask. So what is being digested and where? And I could even ask, so what chemicals, what molecules are being produced by the liver that aid in lipid digestion? The next question is from chapter 49. And so this is one of the questions, which this is related to the understanding of the difference between hyperosmotic and hypoosmotic. Okay, and so, and this is a common misconception. Students, adults, everybody gets these things confused. It's challenging. All right, so when compared to their environment, freshwater organisms, this is interesting. Freshwater organisms have salt in their tissues, the surrounding water, the fresh water has no salts or dissolved solids in it. So the organisms are hyperosmotic. Their tissues are more salty than the surrounding water because the water has nothing in it. All right, so the correct answer is hyperosmotic. I understand that is a tough question, and I asked it specifically because I want you guys to get it right. I want the class to get those questions right when it comes to a test question. All right, and the last question is related to where water is reabsorbed from the initial filtrate in the proximal tubule. And yes, this is correct. The answer is true. Just make sure that yes, that answer is true. Very good. That is also I had a lot of other kind of clicker questions and stuff that I wanted to ask, but there's without watching the videos or going through the lectures, you might not have known that. But this gives you an idea. Also, be familiar with the different parts of the nephron and what is occurring in different areas. So where is water being reabsorbed? What ions are being reabsorbed or excreted in different areas? And also, if being able to order the different locations. So, the collecting duct is the last part, the glomerulus is the first part. So what happens in between those parts? Being able to kind of map out those different locations too. All right, so that is everything that I had to review with you today. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, that is it. And I will see you again on Thursday. And that's all. So good luck studying. If you have questions or anything, please let me know. I will post an announcement on Blackboard to remind you to send me the certificate from the course perception surveys, and I should be getting your grades updated tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining me.